All right. Let's do this, people. If that is your real name. If that is your real name. You get some good writing in today, I think. Feels like a good day to be writing. It also feels like a good day to be napping too, let's be honest. Come on, save. That I absolutely hate when it does this. Not sure why it took that long. Let's start from the. I gotta figure something else. Okay. I gotta read something because there's a character trait I totally forgot. Stop with that. The charge my got my watch on the charger thing, and it keeps blinking on and off. Stop. Just charge. There's Mr. Frank. All right. Good day. Or simply just day. I said good day, sir. That's a good day. I'm in a good mood. But if I'm in a good mood, if mama's happy, if mama ain't happy, whatever that thing is. My Aunt Kim had a thing on her wall. That was the thing on the wall. And it was a bunch of, it was uh, a hen and a bunch of little chickens. And it said, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. All right. Great Vinnie Vincent shirt. Yes, this is from the Creatures of the Night tour. So, yeah, you can tell by the color. I always like, oh, I'm going to put on a black shirt. And it's a, it's actually, I think it used to be blue. It's more like a purple now. Anytime I listen to all the many various Vinnie Vincent songs that I've purchased for $200 each, I put this shirt on. How was your weekend, Frank? I'm not going to say anything about snow because God knows you got 14 feet of snow or something, and then you're going to be mad at me again. So I'll just say I hope you had a good weekend. Mr. Frank says, we didn't get snow. It was time for all y'all mofos to get it this round. Nice. Yeah, we did get flurries nearby for about 8 seconds. And people here were just so excited. My wife's cousin, who she's never been in snow, was just like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, no, it's not. No, grow up in this garbage. And you literally got like 5 snow flurries. Yeah, the yin has definitely yanged. I heard about a foot in the Carolinas. Yeah, they got a lot of snow up there, I heard. And I guess in Tennessee, where it doesn't ever snow. That's why Chuck moved there to Tennessee, because it never snows. I think Knoxville got quite a bit of snow as well. All the various Carolinas got it. I believe even Canada, which is insane. First time snow in Canada in years. Frank says, hope Tom doesn't have to make a quick ride up to Myrtle Beach. Yeah, that would not be good. It is 44 degrees here right now. Once it got over 40, though, I did turn the heat off because my wife went to work. And then I'm like, you know what? I opened just my window here. And now I got both cats sitting in the window, just staring out, just smelling things. Tom ain't leaving his attic anyway. He did write a chapter yesterday, which is amazing on the weekend because, he takes the weekends off because he's got so much going on. Ooh. 28 today. That's not good. I think it was actually 28 overnight here. But no snow. It was like 32 or something when I did my second day in a row. I did my coffee of the day inside the house. It's been a good week since we hit the 30s. And that's what you can expect this time of year, right? I mean, let's not all act like, oh, this is crazy. No, this is what normally happens. Doesn't get as cold here, though. Might get up to steamy 35 tomorrow. Shorts weather. Shorts, and you put on your own Vinnie Vincent t-shirt. Frank says, listen, I don't care if this is normal for February. It doesn't feel normal for humans in the moment. Think about what your Neanderthal ancestors felt like. They were like, oh my God, in the future, some guy named Frank is going to complain. Let's go kill some dinosaurs. That dude that I hung out with the other day, last Thursday, the filmmaker / horror author, C. Paul Wiggins. I'm going to read his book this month. He said his mother was born in Perth Amboy. And his dad was born in North Carolina. But his mother was originally born in Brooklyn and moved to Perth Amboy. Isn't it fascinating? Mr. Frank said they suffered for my comfort. That was the deal. You know what? Exactly. Each generation should do better or strive to do better. And I think I don't know about me, but I know you definitely have done better with your than your ancestors. Because your ancestors, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be just totally, completely honest. Your Neanderthal ancestors were a mess. Those people didn't know what was going on. One was like, right here in this spot someday, not only will there be a White Castle, a guy named Sebastian Bach will get into a fight here. And your other ancestors was like, that ain't going to happen. You're making stories up. Go draw that on the wall. And the guy drew a big Sebastian Bach on the wall and a little castle. He colored it in white. I don't know what the hell I was talking about. As Frank says, I was born in Brooklyn and moved a Ross across the river from Perth Amboy, so it's likely with this exact same. You could be this dude's mom. Chad Lusky, afternoon, folks. What's up? What's up, Chad? How's the weather up there? Frank's complaining because it's 28 there. I'm not complaining because it's 44 degrees here. That's Fahrenheit. I hate when I watch shows. I watched a show yesterday. The last episode of a show called The Last Captains. And it's about people in like Newfoundland who fish for crab and tuna and all kinds of stuff, right? It follows like 3 or 4 different captains and stuff. And what drives me nuts about this show is, and I get it, you're filming in Canada. They're like, they are only 117 kilometers from blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know how far that is. And then they're like, and it is, it's currently negative, 805,000 degrees Celsius. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this, I don't know what any of this means. Stop using meters. Stop using all this other stuff that, the rest of the world uses and we don't. Chess says I got all the way up to 22 yesterday, but then I woke up to even more snow. As Frank says, your ancestors were cooler than mine, Chad. Yeah. I'm going to guess Chad's ancestors definitely had good hair back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Chad Lutsky, his Neanderthal ancestors might have even originated hair metal. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have the facts in front of me, but I'm going to guess that's what happened. Chad says, I feel like this year's winter is probably more akin to what people who don't live in Michigan feel like Michigan winters are probably like. Probably. This is like the coldest it's been here in 8,000 years or something ridiculous like that. It could be 40 years. I don't know. It's very cold. It's very cold. I mean, 44 degrees. I mean, I'm in Florida. This should not be happening. The normal high, I think, at this point is like 62 degrees today. Like we would already be at it. It's February. We're already out of winter. In February, we're back to okay, we're just going to throw on our anthrax board shorts and our hat with the flipped up that says "not" on it real big, and we're just going to go out and skateboard. We're not doing all this. Chance started watching Black Rabbit last night with the wife based on your wreck. Yeah, anthrax board shorts, man. We all had them. We all had the stupid painter's cap that we would flip up the front. And we would write "not" real big with my mullet. Good days. We all had our skateboards. I had my anthrax skateboard, and I was awful on a skateboard, but I had a cool board. Chad says, I had them, but we called them jams. Yeah, we call them anthrax board shorts in New Jersey. Mr. Frank says, I definitely feel like I'm living in Michigan. Yeah. I feel like I'm living La Vodalika. La Loca, whatever that thing is. Try Balkans cold when the jet stream drops out of Siberia and carries it through the Carpathians. Yeah, that's probably really cold. Although, if you tell me what it is in Celsius, I have no idea what it is. I only do Fahrenheit. As Frank said, that's it. That's the joke. Oh, okay. Chad says, last year, most of February was in the 50s. Yeah, last year, all of February was in the 60s here. So we're in 46 right now. It's gone up. Miss Frank says, I call them jams and I live in New Jersey. Yeah, you weren't cool like us. You weren't cool like the Anthrax. You like the Madawan Mosh Patrol. You remember those guys? Miss Frank said, we call old guys who call jams Anthrax board shorts old people. Yeah, well, I'm a lot older than you, so that does make sense. Hey, whatever Scotty Ian did, we did. You know what I'm saying? Chad thinks that Mr. Frank is funny saying that, even though it was very hurtful to me. And I'm probably going to take a break in a few minutes and go in the other room and cry. Mr. Frank said, glad we got that all sorted out. Yeah, we don't have to talk about this anymore. I watched 3 movies yesterday. 3. Want to add a suggestion from Mr. Frank? Secret Mall Apartment, a documentary on Netflix. Loved it. It was insane that they did that. Pooping and crying, exactly. It was. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was a great, crazy idea, and I like how they got caught because some guy wanted to get laid. Basically, is what happened. But good documentary. I recommend it. Through Frank's recommendation. This Frank says, wow, part of me felt like you would curse me for exposing you to that weirdness. I liked it because it was so weird. I liked it because it was different. I don't understand we're artists and we're going to make tape art and we're not going to make any money and we're going to live in squalor. I don't understand all that part of it. You know what I'm saying? But I get a bunch of kids doing dumb stuff. And it was kind of neat. I mean, it was neat the way they literally set up an apartment in a hidden area of the mall. The fact that spot even existed, I think, is really cool. That they found it is really cool. Chad says, saw the trailer for Secret Mall and it looked great, but noped out in it when I saw the guy squeezing it into totally claustrophobic crevasse. Yeah, they don't do that too often, but yeah, there are several scenes where they're climbing up through a very, very tight space. As Frank said, they had a sort of skater punk sensibility to them. Yeah, definitely. As Frank said, that's only seconds long. Yeah, it's literally like 3 times maybe in the whole thing. Otherwise, they're just in the dirty, open areas. That was only one of 3 ways in. I thought it was pretty good. I went in not expecting much. I'm like, let me just watch this stupid thing. I don't want to do anything. I kind of took the weekend off from writing. Yesterday I did nothing. My wife went to her mom's, and I was like, let me just watch something. And I'm like, let me see what's on Netflix, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, let me watch this. So then I watched that. And then, so that was pretty good. So I was like, all right, I'm good. Let me watch something else. Couldn't find another good documentary. I did find Troll 2. I actually saw Troll, the first movie, and I was like, you know what? They just put out 2025 Troll 2. Let me watch this. It was what you would expect in a really cheesy movie about a giant troll walking around Norway eating people. And then I watched that, and then I'm like, all right, what else? Let me just look at the search thing and see what came out that's free if I watch it on something. And then apparently we have Hulu again. I don't know if my wife signed up or we just grabbed the sign in from my daughter, but I was like, let me see what Let me see what I can watch. And I watched the Springsteen movie with Jeremy, whatever, the dude who's in the bear, and I thought it was damn good. I liked it. It was damn a good movie. Tom was like, "Oh, there's gonna be a lot of there's a lot of Asbury Park in it." I didn't think there was that much Asbury Park, but I thought it was a good movie. I thought he did well. I'm glad they didn't try to do like this, you know, life of Bruce Springsteen kind of thing. They just basically did that year or so in his life making the Nebraska album, which I'll be honest with you is probably my favorite Springsteen album. I was not a huge Springsteen fan growing up because everybody listened to Springsteen. Because like WNEW, all of those had the Bruce Springsteen, the home of the boss. They had all the bumper stickers and stuff. All the older kids listened to Springsteen, but I've learned to appreciate more of it now. Once I got out of high school, let me see. Frank said, "Yeah, I too felt like it delivered more than expected going on." I think I read that already. Exachotl says, "YouTube movies free have been rocking lately." Miss Frank says, "Name names." Yeah, let's see what movies we're talking. Chad says, "And now you need to go watch me and Jeremiah's Troll 2 reaction on Creepy Couch." You know what? It's a perfect movie. If either of you say anything other than Troll 2 is a perfect movie like Troll, I won't believe. Chad says River's Edge is free. It is on my list. I have it on a post-it note. I just got other crap I'm watching. Mr. Frank said they're trying to knock the Carousel House down again. Again? Why? Probably because nobody's going there. The Asbury Park Carousel House, to be Pacific. Oh, I thought you meant the South Amboy or the Perth Amboy Carousel House. So I'm glad we got, or the Amboys Carousel House. Exaclotl says, Mr. Frank, he names some things. Robot, Jacks, Rommel, Space Truckers, Wild Geese, Men at Work, Khartoum, Ghost in the Shell 2, Appleseed Alpha, The Great War of Archimedes. I feel like all of those are going to be anime. They all sound like anime movies. Maybe I'm wrong. Mr. Frank said, I might check Space Truckers. Chad says, I do think we're talking about different troll movies, though. Mr. Frank says, it's Condemned. Oh. I had no idea it was Condemned. When I saw the movie, I was like, all right, maybe I figured, you know what, it's just a set. Because they would show the outside and then they would walk in. I'm like, oh, they probably just built a set in Hollywood somewhere with the carousel on it. Because the last time I was there, and that was how many years ago, it was just a big empty space. How many different troll movies are there? And how many of those troll movies did they make a second movie of? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to look this up. Troll 2 movie. Bum, 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 bum. Troll 2, 2025 film. As Frank says, no, they did shoot in the Carousel House for the movie. Okay, that's good to know. Chad says, I'm talking classic troll from the 80s. Well, I'm talking the updated great troll. Giant trolls fighting like Godzilla and King Kong. I mean, I'm not really. It's got a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert, 2 out of 4. IMDb, 5.3 out of 10. As Frank said, it's only condemned by the people who own it and want to knock it down and build something that generates profit. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Like, oh, this is going to be great for a condo right here. And no, thank you, Mr. Spam Risk. Yeah, last time I was in Asbury Park, man, it really changed. So there you go. Troll 2. They still do those zombie walks or anything like that down there? Frank, remember those years ago? I think you were part of that. Doing the walk. The Walk of the Zombies. Chad says, I did see the one you're talking about and hated that first one. Didn't know about the second one. I didn't know about the second one either. I watched the first one. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was what it was, just a cheesy movie. And then I saw the second one. And if you didn't like the first one, you definitely won't like the second one because you thought there were some plot holes in the first one. There's a lot in this one. As Frank says, yeah, they still do them. Okay. As Frank says, usually the same guy as Collingswood Book Fest, so I haven't gone in a number of years. You don't like that guy? You're like against that guy? Exoto says, Troll 2, the Walmart parking lot. Zombies, checkout line. I see what you did there. I always, the Walmart closest to us at night, for some, it's not even in a bad neighborhood, but for some reason, there's a lot of beggars that hang out there. And I always say when we go, I would be like, all right, let's go run the gauntlet because there's like 5 people that hit you on your way in and 5 people that hit you on your way out asking for change or whatever. Day, not guy. My bad, Mr. Frank says. Oh, it's not the same guy. It's the same day as Collins of Book Fest. Oh, so that makes sense. That's why you don't go. You don't hate that guy. Chad says, not just plot holes, it was just bad Hollywood writing, formulaic and packed full of cliches, which is what you want in a dumb movie like that. And guess what? All those things and more in the second one. Like right from the beginning, it's just stupid. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch this. I'm going to turn my brain off because I want to watch a dumb movie. That's why I like watching all those Bigfoot shows. I'm like, Bigfoot, to me, Bigfoot does not exist. But these people swear it does, and then they're all going to. I watched one, I watched Monster Quest. And the guy's telling his story, and you can see they're like, oh, okay, You're like, yeah. And he's like, oh, but then he's like adding more to it. You can tell he's just making it up off the top of his head, you know. Oh, did I say it was one Bigfoot? There was 4 Bigfoots. Yeah, and all 4 of them were like throwing, where they were throwing pebbles. No, they were throwing rocks at us. No. Then 8 and 9 more showed up, and they were ripping trees out of the ground. And yeah, they beat me with a tree. I mean, and I'm like, yeah, no, that was none of that. I mean, literally none of that happened. Not a word of that happened. You want to see a good kaiju movie? Watch Monsters. Monsters. Let me look that up because it sounds familiar, obviously. Monsters Incorporated? Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, the one that's set in Mexico. That was a good movie. I like that. Or are you referring to Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story? Either way. I thought we were going to get a second one of that. Guess we never did. Chad says it was a great movie, highly underrated. Yeah. I remember it was one of those I just watched. I'm like, let me just watch this thing. Chad said, I think he didn't get seen much because Monsters has a horrible title and even worse movie poster. Yeah, the title that literally gives you nothing. It's like it sounds like every other, and of course, if you look it up, there's 400 other monsters movie. So. That was a pretty good movie. I'm not going to complain about it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Tonight, my wife is making jambalaya, chicken, sausage, and shrimp. Shrimp just for me. Jambalaya. I wanted chili. I'm like, you should make chili, but she was missing one of the ingredients. I don't remember which. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that on Wednesday. No, Wednesday. Yeah, the ghost pepper. Everything she makes it starts with ghost pepper, and we eat so much ghost pepper. It's ridiculous. If it ever gets nice enough, we can actually take this lemon tree that she got for Christmas and actually put it out in the yard. Start getting some lemons, which are nearly as hot as ghost peppers. I don't think I could ever do a garden though. It just seems like a lot of work, and I think I would get mad. So many cats in the neighborhood, and raccoons and squirrels and jaguars and skunk apes. Just this place is filthy with them. They eat all the carrots and stuff. Plus, I don't want to know where vegetables come from. I just want to eat them. You know what I'm saying? Just like I don't want to. I don't need to go to a slaughterhouse to go. Hey, I want a good piece of meat. You know what I'm saying? Put it in the Publix in the frozen food section, and I'll go and grab some meat from there. Mr. Frank says you are not meant to garden, right? Do I look like I would garden, or do I look like I would even be good at it? No. We hit a bunch of little free libraries on Saturday. My wife and I went to lunch, and then we went and hit a bunch of little free libraries, and we got rid of 3 crates of books. And at one of the little free libraries, they also had a little seed library with packets of seeds. And I'm like, well, this is just wasting space here. You can put books in this spot. I'm not taking seeds. Freaking gardeners. Went to school with a Michelle gardener, but I don't know if she was actually a gardener. I would imagine it's somewhere down the line. Maybe her Neanderthal relatives were gardeners, which would make sense. Mr. Frank says it's a bit odd to me. You think the sole motivation of anyone gardening is to understand how the vegetable magically appear on the plate. I don't want to know how it appears. You know what I'm saying? Ms. Frank says, by odd, I mean humorously entertaining, right? Like, I just want a bag of frozen carrots, and then I cook them, and then I throw some salt and pepper on them, and then some butter, and then I put them on the plate with rice, and I don't want to know where rice comes from, and a big chunk of meatloaf. And again, I don't want to know where the meat or the loaf comes from. I just want to eat it. I don't know how a car works, but I know I can get in it and use it and drive. That's good enough for me. I don't know how a telephone works, but I can answer it, get spam messages. I don't know much about anything, but I do know the things that I know. I don't want to know more about them. Nope. Come on. Happy Monday, Charles. Charlie. Happy Monday. You had a good story you sent in for the you and Frank both for the Crystal Lake Publishing thing. So I'm gonna spoiler. Both of your stories will be moving forward to the what do you call it round. The people on their Patreon will vote. Try to find the best story. Miss Frank says, generous, thank you. Not generous. I legitimately like your stories. There's a couple authors sent me stories that I actually like their stuff. So far it was 27 stories came in. 15 to 20 get moved up. So it's pretty good shot. You move up. As long as you write something that has to do with river. I've had one that had absolutely nothing to do with the river other than, you ready? He named his motorcycle River. And you could tell reading the story, it was like, let me just add this in a couple times. And I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. So that story went right to the number 27 spot. Troy says, that's great news. Thanks. I'm glad you liked it. I did. Miss Frank says, was the motorcycle central to the story? No. No, he drives around on his motorcycle and he does bad things. And that was literally the own thing. Like it's like I got on River and we took off to the bar or something. And then like one or two other times he talks about he's showing it off to some girl. He's like, I call her River. Why do you call her a River? Oh, someday you'll ride bitch with me and you'll know. Like those kind. I'm like, this is stupid. Mr. Frank says foul. Nick says, I worked hard on naming that motorcycle. Mr. Frank says, good thing I opted not to go with the River Phoenix story. Yeah, that River Phoenix story would have been number 26 of 27 because his story was really, really bad. But anyway, then I guess in the next, I got to send my list in today. And then in the next couple of days, they'll start the process. And I guess the February theme has already been posted. Charlie says, LMAO, that does sound terrible. LeMayo, that does sound terrible. Was my nickname in high school, LeMayo. Chad says, sounds like something Geezer Butler wrote. No. Geezer Butler might write a couple of these other stories. He definitely did not write that. Miss Frank says, Nick, you expect me to believe you finished that story. Exactly. Nick says, no, I didn't finish it, but named the hog. There you go. What better name than River? Like that, it didn't even make sense in the story. And of course, his answer was, "Well, if you ride with me, then I'll tell you why." Well, that's just dumb. And spoiler alert: not that you'll ever read the story. The girl didn't ride with him. So really, nothing really makes sense anymore these days. Come on, spell. Ooh, excuse me. I had pierogies for lunch, and if you were Polish, you were gonna yell blasphemy. Pierogies in the air fryer, and then I dip them in salsa. That's how I eat them. I don't know why. I don't know where I got the salsa thing from. And before you say anything, Chad, and something stupid, salsa is not a condiment. The definition of a condiment is stuff that I don't eat. So I had some pierogies. Ms. Frank says, no flag on the play. What do you guys normally eat pierogies? What do you normally eat pierogies with? My wife will eat them with sour cream. I don't eat sour cream. We had pierogies as kids growing up. My mother would boil them and then she would put them in a little bit of oil and brown them up. But I don't remember what we ate with them. Pan fried in buttered and sauteed onions. These were potato and onion pierogies. So I already had onions. Pan fry both sides to get toasty crunch. Yeah. Like I still do like my mother did it is I throw them in I boil them for however many minutes and then I put some hot oil. You got to brown both sides. The air fryer browns both sides, which is nice. 400 14 minutes, 7 minutes in, you shake them. Ms. Frank says more onions, so you're a big onions fan. Yeah, I don't know what else. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna say, what do you eat? What do you eat with pierogies? Pierogies. Pierogies are served with savory, rich toppings like caramel, caramelized onions, crispy bacon, sauteed mushrooms, and sour cream, along with side dishes like Polish sausage, kielbasa, sauerkraut, and crisp cucumber salad. Butter. This guy's making Jeffrey's making a sour cream dip. Also, you can pair it with borscht. Alternate pairings are mushrooms in a creamy mushroom sauce, eggs sunny side up or scrambled with chorizo. For fruit-filled pierogies, use yogurt, sour cream, or fruit compote. I will not be doing that. Miss Frank says mushrooms is a great move. Also, I never thought of that. Mushrooms. I love mushrooms. Maybe the next time I will do it with mushrooms. There's always sauerkraut and kielbasa. Yeah, my mother loved making a giant thing of sauerkraut for hot dogs. You know, she would boil those disgusting boiled hot dogs. I didn't like sauerkraut. I was never a fan of sauerkraut. So I don't eat sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is a condiment. So traditional way to eat pierogies is chives, fried onions, and sour cream. Plain pierogies sauteed in butter may be simple and convenient, but there are better representations of their versatility. How do Polish people eat pierogies? Oh, with their mouths. They chew them with their teeth. That is insane. Good topping for pierogies: sweet cottage cheese and fruit sauce. I'm gonna stick with the next time. I'm gonna do the mushrooms because my wife bought the giant bag of like 4,000 pierogies in it, and you can fit 6 in the air fryer at a time. Nick says cheese, dipping, filled, and any other way. Ms. Frank says, you know what they're called in Poland? People. It's like the Polish version of Soylent Green. Soylent Green is people. Pierogies is people. Nope. Monday does not have a K in it. I haven't had mushroom coffee in a while. The problem is it's buried under boxes of coffee here behind me. And I always try to put a couple on the counter so I remember in the afternoon. But I got to remember to remember. Okay. Okay. The goal was 2 hours today, but I'm thinking maybe it's going to be an hour or so, maybe a little over an hour. Maybe see if anybody from the one p.m. Eastern Standard Time crowd swings in. I do have to finish this chapter, don't I? I've just hit the second page. Next page, Nixon. Next page. Good times. What are we doing here? Computer's running very slow today. Probably got to clean it up. Ooh. What is this crap? I'm on the phone. What am I looking at? Hold on. Here's what I don't like. Here's the old man in me. You want me to do something? Hey, vote for this. Don't send it in a text message. Email it to me so I can read the damn thing. I hate reading all this crap on a phone. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Email me or I'm not doing it. If it's that important to you to vote. Sorry, I just get so worked up. I just get so worked up. Nick says, thank you for the next page. Nick, thank you for allowing me to thank you for the next page or something. But mostly thank me. Yeah, if you want me to vote on, Frank will do that to me sometimes. He'll say, "Hey, here's the thing," and he'll send it to me, and then I got to read the address, and I'm like, "Let me see if I can figure this out on my computer because I am not reading anything off of or watching anything on my phone. It just doesn't work for me. I don't have good eyes." Just eyes. You know what I'm saying? It's just there's sometimes there's eyes out there. Sometimes people say the eyes have it. I really do need to finish this chapter. For some reason, I've been getting a lot of Jeep commercials on Facebook. I don't own a Jeep. I never said, "Hey, I want a Jeep." Although now I'm just saying it now out loud, and they're listening. They're always listening. Iron Man Kill was released on this day 45 years ago. Holy crap. Mr. Frank says, "What are you writing on?" Um, Tom Duffy shocked the world. He actually wrote a chapter yesterday on one of his weekends off. He's so busy, he can't write on a Saturday or a Sunday. So I'm writing on that. I'm on the second page. I had to get to the third page on this, but I have no idea where this is going. Problem is, and if Tom's on, I apologize, but I'm gonna talk shit about you right now. He writes one chapter a week, if that. Every 10 days, he's writing another chapter. So it's hard to stay. There's no momentum for this third book now. There's absolutely none. And we're like, I'm writing chapter 23 of 50 chapters. So we're not even halfway done with it. And this literally will take, I don't know, 6 months more to write this stupid thing. So it's annoying. Nick says, on this day 30 years ago, Vinnie Vincent took a nap instead of finishing a song. He knew. He just knew he needed the day off. And he actually did the day after he wrote Boys Are Gonna Nap, which became Boys Are Gonna Rock. So we're good. As Frank says, that song cost $3,000 to buy today. Chad Lesky says Vinnie Vincent wrote Beth. Who told you that? Geezer Butler? Was it Gene Simmons claiming he wrote Beth? I thought that was just an old song that Peter Criss had anyway, like from his solo stuff before he was in Kiss. No, it was a joke I thought everyone in here would get because you're usually up on all the latest music gossip. Miss Frank says, Gene, he can't ever play nice. No, he cannot. Although if you ask Gene, he basically wrote every single song ever. Miss Frank says, yes, Beth was written prior to Kiss. It was originally written as Beck, written by Peter Criss. I don't know who that is. Peter Criss and his friend Stan Pendridge. During the time with the band Chelsea, and later recorded as a demo when the pair were in a band called Lips. During the recording of The Destroyer, Chris showed it to Ezrin, as in Bob Ezrin, who made several changes to it and recommended changing its title to Beth. Slowed it down as a far rockier tune as well. Oh, there you go. There you go. No, there I go. Here I go again on my own. Mr. Frank says Becky. Chad says there has been a recent Gene versus Peter feud on Who Wrote Beth. Yeah, I remember that. Peter Criscola. Chad says Gene claims that Peter didn't write it, but the other guy did, and Peter just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Who can say? Who cares? Mr. Frank says, Beth, I hear you streaming, but I can't log on right now, which was the original lyrics. And people were like, what is this logging in thing? Peter, what are you doing? So they had those were his only lyrics he wrote for the song. Nick Zinn says, Beck, I hear you calling like a loser baby. That's what you did there. I wonder who Beck was. And hopefully not the dumb singer. Chad says originally it was called Jeff Beck, but then Beck, and then Beth, and then Oh Little Town of Bethlehem, and then back to Beth. I appreciate the chronological order of those. Beck was one of their girlfriends. Yeah, I would imagine that was the. He didn't just pull it out of nowhere. Like the dude who wrote Joy to the World. Obviously, he was dating your future wife at the time. I get it. I need about 2,400 hours of 2,400 watch hours watched of my YouTube. So I'm going to need everybody like just pick 100 hours and just watch them in the next few days. I would appreciate that. Nothing yet. I still have coffee. Although with the window open, it's getting cold. 47 degrees now. It's so warm in here. Charlie says, I just noticed your shirt. I like it. Well, thank you. I got this at the Fat Guy store. Whenever we got to do something, go somewhere, I was like, well, we got to go buy you a pair of pants for this, my 93-year-old aunt's wedding. Like, all right, but then I'm going with you. You're not just going to go and buy me. And she's like, you hate clothes shopping. I'm like, I like that store. You know why? Because they have all 4X, 5X, 6X shirts and stuff. I think I've gotten like 4 Iron Maiden shirts from there. I've gotten this Kiss shirt. They had a Creatures of the Night shirt, which I wanted to get, my favorite Kiss album, but they did not have it in my size. And then I forgot about it, and maybe someday I'll get it. So I bought a lot of T-shirts from there. My Jack Daniels shirt is from there. A lot of my shirts. And then somebody gave me a $50 gift card to there, so we'll have to go back. But I'm not spending my gift card on stupid pants. Pants are dumb. Although I'm wearing shorts right now, it's a little cold. Nick says, I wonder what Mr. Frank's fave Kiss album is. Maybe you should ask him. Frankie, ask your question. Does double platinum count? I had double platinum on 8-track. My mother bought it for me. And I had, what was the thing called? It was like the thing that played 8-track. You could play games and 2XL. Anybody remember 2XL? If you're old like me, you remember 2XL. And you could play 8-tracks in it. And so my mother at Bradley's, they had double platinum in like the cutout bin, and she bought it. And I didn't even know who Kiss was at that point, whatever, 8, 9 years old or whatever. And man, I would play that all the time. So I knew all the songs. I had no idea who Kiss was. I had no idea their look or anything. I just thought they were just some band. And so I knew all of the songs. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. When I was like, 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, then I realized when they started doing the that Satanic Panic stuff, when they started doing all these evil bands out there, and AC/DC and what Kiss stood for, and on and on and on. And I was like, oh, wait, I like these guys. I like these guys. And they worship the devil? That was my only, for a long time, that was the only Kiss album I owned. My only 8-track of Kiss that I owned was double platinum. But then when I started seeing commercials on television for Creatures of the Night when I was like 12, I was like, I remember these guys. What's up with all the makeup? And then and that's when I became a fan. So I'm obviously from 82 and above, I am a fan, not the older stuff. I mean, I like some of the older stuff, but I'm more of a fan of the 80s stuff. Charlie says, I think Lick It Up is my favorite Kiss album, but it can change at any time. Great album. Great album. And I like a lot of the older 70s Kiss songs, don't get me wrong. I'm just like there's none of them like, oh, that to me is a great album, you know. I don't consider myself a huge Kiss fan either. It was always interesting to be like, oh, they recorded Hide Your Heart, and so did 14 other bands, you know. Nick says, I bet Frank loves Psycho Circus. He seems like a Psycho Circus kind of guy. I'm going to finish this chapter. What happened to Frank? Why isn't Frank answering? Is he still thinking about the question? Nick says maybe he's struggling with ranking which solo album comes first. You know what? That also makes sense. I remember when CDs were the big thing of a sudden. I like saying that of a sudden. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy all of my albums on CD because this is the wave of the future. And I'm also gonna buy all of the stuff um that I never had on CD. And then one of my brother's friends, who was turns out he was a heroin addict. He had bought like a ton of CDs, like hundreds of CDs when they had first hit. You know, when they had the giant long boxes and stuff. And he had like CDs that weren't even out of the boxes, like just piles of them in his room. I remember. And he was like, "Listen, I need like $100 basically to buy drugs." And my brother was like, "Do you have $100?" And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, Mo needs he's got to buy heroin. It's like $100, but he's got a bunch of CDs he wants to get." I'm like, "Let me see what he's got." And he had like I think I bought like 20 CDs off him. It was all the old Kiss ones, not even out of the box yet. Then I started going nutty. I'm like, I'm going to collect every Black Sabbath CD. I'm going to collect every Judas Priest, every Iron Maiden, and I would just spend tons and tons of money on CDs, which were not cheap back when they first started. But Frank says, love? Song or album? What's your favorite album? I think was the question. Yeah, what's Frank's favorite Kiss album? Charlie says Lick It Up. I say Creatures of the Night. Anybody else can jump in here too if you want. But we really want to know what Mr. Frank's favorite album is. And also what your favorite song is. I don't know what my favorite. It's either for me, it's either War Machine or God of Thunder. That's a great song. But album, it's definitely Creatures of the Night. Miss Frank says, whoa, that's rough. What's rough? Charlie says, I couldn't name a favorite song. I'd end up with a long list. Mr. Frank says, without thinking on it too hard, I have to say the self-titled debut. Okay. All right, calm down. I want to remind everybody to make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow me on Twitch and on YouTube. And Kick, if you're on there, maybe someday I'll get on to Kick. Chad says you can't miss with Kiss from the first album all the way to Unmasked. Mr. Frank says I have no singular favorite Kiss song. Mr. Frank says the first Kiss album I owned, Crazy Nights. Interesting. So you got into them fairly late for Crazy Nights. But then you immediately went backwards, and I guess you're like, I like the old stuff better, or do you like, because there's basically, I always look at it as pre-Creatures of the Night and then everything after Creatures of the Night, more or less. In my mind, that's how I look at it. Mr. Frank says, yes, I was a late bloomer. But what about Kiss? We're talking about Kiss. We're not talking about, oh, wait, you may be weird. Yeah. Better has two T's. Chad says, my first was either Love Gun or Alive when they first were released. Yeah, I think I went double platinum, and then that was it until Creatures of the Night. But then I bought everything, the next several albums after that. Let me look. Let me look at their discography. The self-titled was 74. They don't even have a double platinum listed here. How is that right? Oh, because they're all breaking it. Double platinum was 78, so I was 8 years old. Nick says, Wang, which version of God Gave Rock and Roll to You is best? Chad says, whatever it was 1977. Tom Duffy says, Kiss are Satan worshippers. Chad says, they are Knights, Tom. Yeah, in Satan's service. Yeah, so that was 78, but then I didn't till 82 Creature of the Night, but then I bought Lick It Up, then I bought Animalized, then I bought Asylum. Crazy Nights was 87. I was already 5 albums deep into Kiss by then. Hot in the Shade, Revenge. That was it, though, for me. And I don't think I even really listened to Revenge all that much. I don't even know what the hell songs were on Revenge. Unholy, God Gave Rock and Roll to You too. Domino, I like that song, Domino. So I guess I did listen because I know all these songs. Miss Frank says Revenge was great. Yeah, you know what? At first I was like, I don't remember this album. But I do remember this album. This is a good album. That was the last one I really listened to, though. I remember 5 years later, Carnival of Souls, The Final Sessions, Psycho Circus, Sonic Boom, and then Monster. Monster, is it the movie Monster that we talked about? I don't know. I remember in '88, Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. I remember that release. I think I got that one on cassette. Chad says, I don't think I've ever heard the whole Crazy Nights album. Let me look and see what is even on this Crazy Nights. It's crazy, 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 crazy night. Bang Bang You, No No Hell or High Water, My Way, When Your Walls Come Down, Reason to Live. Everybody's got a reason to live. Good Girl Gone Bad, Turn on the Night, and then Thief in the Night. And Thief in the Night, Gene Simmons had given to Wendy O. Williams for her album. And I had that album. I had the actual album of the Wendy O. Williams, and I liked that song. That was a good freaking song. Yeah, on her 84 solo album, Wow. Turn on the Night was the third single off of the album. Chad says, Sonic Boom was way better than I thought it'd be. Nick says, if only they'd put the X in something. Chad says, Crazy Nights in Beth's service, not Beck's service. Yeah, so you know what? That Crazy Nights was a good album. Sonic Boom, I don't think I ever even heard. That came out in 2009, so like 11 years after Psycho Circus. They're smart though. They're like, why are we going to record? Why are we going to record more songs? Everybody just wants to hear the old songs. Ooh. Chad says there's like 2 songs on Boom that are pretty bad, but the rest is pretty good. Are any of the songs about Gene Simmons basically talking about his penis? Let me rephrase that. Are all of Gene Simmons' songs about that? Chad says yes. I thought so. I'm going to finish this chapter for Tom, and then Tom is going to write the next damn chapter because this book is just dragging. Tom says nothing is going to be better than Vinnie Vincent's Judgment Day, Guitarmageddon Part 1. Chad Lutsky says this is Russian roulette. One pull of the trigger is all you're going to get. This Frank says Sonic Boom was probably best of the post-reunion albums. Mr. Frank says, but they were all subpar. You know, it gets to a point where bands, they run out of good material, right? And I think that's probably what happened. They no longer have the drive because they're making a crap ton of money and doing things. I say kudos to Kiss for going, you know what? We're not just going to put out 400 more albums of garbage and hope we get one good song on each album. I'm almost done, Tom. I'm almost done. Chaz, the Sonic Boom hands down has the worst lyric of any Kiss song. Danger you, danger me, danger us. Let's see what they did there, though. The greatest Kiss, one of the greatest Kiss lines for me is I want to put my log in your fireplace. That's a great line. Miss Frank says Carnival of Souls deserves a re-listen. I think it aged well, but didn't connect at the time. Ahead of its time, we'll call it. I guess if you want to call it that, I don't know. Chess, is that the one where they forget they're not Alice in Chains? A little bit of social commentary from Chad on that one. What was that really bad Faster Pussycat album where they were like, we're just going to be grunge now? That did not age well. As Frank says, yes to the Alice in Chains comment. Moving. Mr. Frank said toys try to go industrial, like awful Marilyn Manson. Yeah, I remember that too. A lot of bands try to change their sound because they thought, oh, we'll just fit in. Nobody will remember we put out these 6 and 7 albums in the 80s and we were all glammed up, bunch of pretty boys. Poison, right? That Poison album had a lot of that crap on it. Remember when Nine Inch Nails went industrial? Oh no, wait, they were. Forget it. As Frank says, it was a moment. Yep. I would imagine it was all of the record companies were telling these bands, "Oh, you owe us an album, but we don't want the crap you were doing. So stop writing about partying and banging women. Let's write something with more social commentary. And here, use this drum machine." Chester, speaking of industrial, have you ever heard Ministry's first record? That is not industrial. That Ministry album is awful. That Ministry first stuff they did is Bobby. The only thing I've heard that's worse than those first two glam Pantera albums with what's his name, Terry Date singing. Chess is the only good Ministry album. That first one. Ministry was one of those. I was never an industrial music fan to begin with, but Ministry has like 3 or 4 songs that basically just sounds like they ripped off Slayer guitar riffs, and then they just repeat the same things over and over and over and over again. So I was never really a fan anyway. I think I saw them at like, I don't know if they were Lollapalooza, Ozfest. They were at something where they were like one of the bands, and I remember just being really bored. I'm like, all right, let's go wander around and do something because they suck. And he's like on the stage trying to argue with people, and I'm like, nobody's arguing with you. Nobody cares. Shut up. Come on. No, thank you, Mr. Spam Risk. Chess says, I don't care for industrial either. That's why I only like their first record, the new wave goth one. I just think that album was awful. I only listened to it a couple times. I had a girl back in the day who was really into that stuff. And I was like, no. Like that first Nine Inch Nails album I loved only because I saw them at Lollapalooza. And I just thought they were really, really good. But then after that, I was like, yeah, I'm not really into this. I also get annoyed when certain people we know who always wear their Nine Inch Nails shirt to every book signing and conference. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm into heavy metal. But then they're Nine Inch Nails and Ministry and what's that other Therapy, all these bands. I'm like, that. None of that is, I consider that heavy metal. I consider it all industrial. Whatever. Nixon says, "Oh, I forgot." Mr. Frank says, "LOL, Chuck." Nick says, "Watch the guitar meet signs for King's X. Forgot about them." Chad says, "Give me back my Nine Inch Nails pen." Exactly. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Ugh, annoying. There was a brief moment there when I was a big King's X fan. I'm telling you what, one of my favorite songs of all time is a King's X song, Goldilocks, the original version, not that new one that they re-recorded. The original version of that is just a beautiful song, absolutely beautiful. All right, Tom, chapter done. Larry the Cable Guy says, "Get things done," or whatever he says. Chadless says, "Summerland." Mr. Frank says, "King's X was no Madam X." The Petrucci sisters, that Sebastian Bach guy with 14-foot hair. Chess says, or Generation X, which is actually a great band. I had the Generation X cassettes back in the day. What am I doing? All right. So that chapter is done. 3 pages done. I'm going to use my calculator and update my thing now. And I still got to write some more words today. That's fine. I know what to do. I'm going to do this. I have to do this, and I've done this. So how come, like these spam accounts, right? I block them, but then the phone, it doesn't ring. It goes right to voicemail, and they're still leaving me voicemails of their spam. Isn't there a better way to do this? Like, I don't know. I get no spam at all. They're blocked. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Appreciate everybody hanging out today. Tomorrow I probably won't be on, but that's not 100%. I might. Spooky Dad jumps in right as I'm saying, all right, I'm out of here. Welcome in for a minute or so, though. Appreciate you joining the thing here, whatever the thing is. Feel free to watch it. Yeah, I started an hour and 45 minutes ago. I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow. I know I definitely will be here on Wednesday, noon Eastern time. Come hang out with me. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. And we will do this again.